So we've heard recently, and this is actually perfect because we spoke about this. We kind of got in on the ground floor of this a little bit. It's actually looking like 165 is a closer reality than ever. And the rumors that are kind of circulating is that it could be International Fight Week, McGregor versus Chandler getting the chance to be the inaugural champion of that division. So do you think, if that turns out to be the case, do you think that is fair?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When was Chandler's last fight? Like, how long ago was that? That was against who?
I think it's like 2 years.
It was against,
and he got battered. Poirier.
That's right. 2 years ago. Connor's last fight was against the same person, and he got beat up too. So two dudes coming off losses are going to open a new division, and one of them's going to become champion. Are you fucking kidding me? Like that? No, that is about the dumbest shit I've ever heard. That is so stupid. There's so many people at 170 and at 155 that could fight for the 165 title. So many relevant people when it comes to fighting, doing their job in the cage, that should be fighting for that belt. And you want to put two people out there who don't deserve it. They just don't. And I like both of them. I realize what Conor McGregor is for the sport. And that's why everybody says, he's great for the sport. He is great for the sport. But does he deserve a championship to be the first 3-weight champion when he's never defended a belt in his life? If you go into his closet right now and try to take a belt, he'll let you take it because he don't defend belts. Like, no, absolutely not. That is the worst idea ever. It would make that division immediately irrelevant. Yeah.
Before I actually answer the question directly, I am going to say I do think, and you agree with me on this as well. I think to some extent, I think making a 165 division, which isn't the issue here, I think it's the right move. Yes. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I think having a clear 10 pounds between every division is great. Is there any word, just before I get into this, on what the weight class will be called?
Ooh,
do you have any idea what it might be? Has that been discussed?
I haven't heard anything on junior welterweight. I don't know what they're gonna call it. I don't know. They might mess it up just by giving it,
the wrong moniker, So that this is an opportunity for you in the comments. If you've got any ideas for what the weight class should be called, or if you've heard what the weight class may be called, stick them in the comments. I'm exactly on the same line as you. Obviously, this was not hard at all. Neither of these guys deserve a title shot, and it's embarrassing that it's even being discussed. I mean, we're not at the stage where it's happened, thank God. It might happen though. We know how this sport goes. Mm-hmm. What you said about it diminishing the division from the offset is exactly along my line of thinking. If you have these two fighting for the belt, immediately the division seems like trash. Yep. Now, I will say, I do feel a little bit more sorry for Chandler in this situation. He's been around, he's been made to wait. He's been clutching his dick for 2 years. The bottom line, though, is that fucking hobbit has lost 3 in his last 4 fights. And one of those was a win against the completely washed Tony Ferguson. And think about it. Who did he beat before that? He beat Dan Hooker. Big deal. He has 2 UFC wins in 5 fights. Now, McGregor has lost his last 2 against the same guy and hasn't fought in 3 years. So, one thing I will ask, though, if it's not those 2, who would you put in there for the... Because I've actually had a little think about this. Who would you put in there for the inaugural... Because I've got something in mind. I want to see what you think of it.
I think what would be
I'd rather see Kevin Lee,
interesting-
by the way, than one of these two.
Yes, that's the first.
I'd
person.
rather
When
see
you-
Kevin.
when
I'd
you
rather
brought
see
it up-
Kevin Lee thrown in there.
When you brought it up, that immediately made me think. I'm like, Kevin Lee could have been the champ. He could have been the champ,
Yeah.
man. That would have been dope.
Still believe in
Motown
Kevin
phenom. You know, I stopped believing when he got that tattoo on his head. But who do I mean, it's almost like you have to look at, okay, so who's a little small for welterweight and who's a little big for lightweight? And it's hard. I'm looking at the rankings right now, and what I would have said previously was, man, Colby Covington for sure. But Colby's coming
He's
off
one
of
of the
a
names
loss.
I thought of. Yep.
Yeah,
Same situation.
I think it would be cool to see RDA if he were able to do it. He's an old man now, but if I were in this position and I was Armin Sarukian, I probably would go up and try to do it. That's probably one of the people that I would think of. From a welterweight perspective, I'm thinking Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns against Armin
Burns
Sarukian.
was somebody I thought of.
Yeah,
That
would be a dope fight.
I was actually thinking, like, now, obviously Gaethje is fighting Max.
Yeah.
I think Gaethje would be a good candidate because he's quite a chunky kind of. He's a lightweight, but he's a bit of a chunky lightweight.
Yeah.
Sorry. But obviously it's difficult because Max is a small lightweight, so you couldn't really do it with him. I'd rather see that though.
That would
than
be
them
cool.
fighting for
The BMF.
Yeah, I'd rather see those. Just let them, because I think Max. It would be interesting to see what Max would do. I think he'd be fine at 165. I mean, I know he's not a big 155er, but
well, Max walks around at like 190, so he's bigger than people think. He's just got the weight cutting to 145 down to a science. But I think that he would do all right at 165. He would.
Yeah, and you know what would make sense? Those two fight it out for the belt rather than, a dumb belt that nobody really gives a fuck about. And then they could do the winner of McGregor and Chandler at International Fight Week, and then slide that would. I mean, I still think that they both wouldn't deserve it based on beating each other, but that would make if you need one of them in the event, it would make a hell of a lot more sense doing Gaethje and Max or Gaethje and someone else. Well, I mean, I know he's fighting Max anyway, but I'd rather see that, and then the winner of that and Chandler and McGregor face for the first title defense, assuming it happens.
Yeah. I have another quick sidebar before we get into the next one. But do you think that that division will become the division for the old lightweights?
I do. So I think like all those guys who are in lightweight that are outside looking in. So I think you're looking like at the Poiriers, the Gaethjes. I think they'd be the first two to go up. And I think equally, names you brought up, I think Covington, Burns, there was another one, RDA as well. I think that those would be the immediate people that would make up the top 5, top 10 of that division immediately. And then I think you'd literally get people coming in at that weight as well from different organizations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With welterweight moving up to 175. Yeah, with welterweight moving up to 175, I think that then you'd really start to see the division between like the big welterweights and the small welterweights, the big lightweights and the small lightweights. Like, yeah, for sure.
I completely agree. And that's I think this is very, very interesting. I think it's very interesting in that like it adds some intrigue, it adds some excitement, and I'm looking forward to see. It is looking like it's going to happen.
I hope so.
Fiziev was talking about it.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't want to see him.
I think he's someone who's very interested.
I would want to see him. I think he's someone who's 55. Be honest.
Yeah.
The reason why is because of his height and his reach. I don't think that
he looks like a small lightweight.
He does. He does.
I mean, he's a big dude, stocky dude, but
yeah.
If you give somebody like a Poirier or Gaethje another 10 pounds, the result's going to be the same. And I like
Mhm.
Fiziev, but
Yeah.
Arman Sarukin's a good shout.